Well, hello, people. So crazy. I'm talking to the camera right now. I used to talk to the camera all the time, and I could probably count on my hands how many times I've talked to the camera in 2020. But nevertheless, here we are. I've just been on a crazy, incredible journey, and I'm ready to start talking about it and start sharing about it because that is a part of the journey. So I'm just going to get right into it. But first, I do want to preface by saying that I am extremely grateful and thankful for the life that I have been blessed to live. Through divine privilege, I have been able to create and hold space for myself to go on a journey of self-discovery and ultimately healing myself from a lot of the things that I didn't even know I was experiencing. And I will never take the privilege of where I'm currently at for granted. And because I'm so passionate about it, that's actually why I'm making this video, because I hope that by me sharing my story, it resonates with whoever is supposed to receive it and inspires you to take action and keep going on your journey, or even start your journey to begin with. So I'll say that my journey began through an awakening that really prompted a desire for me to dive deep within my soul and uncover the roots of my deepest pains and my biggest fears. Like, what were the things that were ultimately blocking me from growing and living in my authentic light? And I know it sounds silly because I know most people probably look at me and see like an authentic person, but for many years I definitely feel like I've been like downplaying myself and playing small and just afraid to really like step up into the fullness, the abundance of my light. So I will say that on my journey back down to my roots, to go dive deep down in there, I discovered that my stem, or what people call my esteem, has been deeply conditioned and cultivated by an environment of anti-Black racism, of generational trauma, discrimination, the egoisms that affect our social programming, all the society, just the things that we think are how we're supposed to adapt ourselves to fit in with society and be normal. All those things were slowly over time conditioning the manifestation of one of my biggest fears, which is the fear of showing up in this world as my most authentic self, which here we are. Like, that's what it is. And I think that's what a lot of us have, that fear of really like figuring out who we are, and not only figuring that out, but showing up in that way, owning that, taking that, feeling that freedom to just be you. So I realized that on a subconscious level, in many ways, my social environment has deeply conditioned the growth of my esteem and my stem. My esteem is my stem, and that's the vessel that connects my roots to my fruits. So I realized that ever since I was a young girl, subconsciously and consciously, I've been working extra hard to cultivate branches and leaves that will allow me to grow and fit in with the conditions of my environment. Let me know if you can relate to that. So I'll go through some examples of what I'm talking about here. So I went to school, worked really hard, always loved learning, worked really hard to earn my education, went to college, worked hard to earn my bachelor's degree. After graduation, I made a hard yet humble decision to ask my best friend to go stay on her couch for a few months to get me from Ohio to New York City so that I could start building my corporate career and take advantage of the opportunity to do so. I worked really hard to foster my professional talents, did lots of internships, started an organization in college. Like, it was great, you know. I worked hard to develop personal skills, to have this vision of starting from the bottom of capitalist corporate America and the pyramid, in hopes to slowly work my way up to the top over time. That's one example. Another example, I worked really hard to be a good Christian. And let my heart, I really wanted my heart, my mind, and my spirit to exist in the image of God and Jesus Christ. And from a young age, I worked really hard to study the Bible, attend church, and just really run with a desire to live with my religion and live by those rules and according to those rules. But eventually I found myself in a cycle of sin, repent, sin, repent, sin, repent. And it was like some of the things that I realized that I needed to sin for were just, or realized that people need to repent for. The things that we sin, the things that we are called sin, that we need to repent for. And one day I really stopped to ask myself, like, why is queerness and homosexuality a sin according to the Bible? And, you know, sexuality is just a very forbidden topic in the Bible, which causes a lot of people to suppress their sexuality and try to conform to specific behaviors or beliefs around sexuality and the human experience that comes with that. So, you know, that was another thing that I started, that it was like a lot of work I was doing, but I found myself getting conflicted along the way. So next, I worked really hard and still work really hard to balance my various relationships on all levels. And I would say back in the day, this was definitely like, I'm talking family, soulmates and friends, trauma bonds, toxic energy relationships, surface level connections, my professional network, everything in between. It's just like, I'm trying to balance all these different relationships. And in a sense, I wasn't really showing up as my full self for all of these different types of relationships I was having. So, and I would also say another thing that I've worked really hard at through my life is trying to figure out and start a diet and fitness routine that worked for me. And what would usually happen is I would start off super motivated and strong and just like ready to go, very trying to be strict and disciplined. And then life would happen. I would get distracted, thrown off track, and I would lose my patience with myself. Like, I would just be ready to give up and feel so defeated after a couple weeks in because something happened and my routine got messed up, or I ultimately just needed to be more flexible with how I time my workouts or fit it into my schedule. And I would just be like, oh my gosh, it's not working. I would just get really frustrated and lose patience with myself, and ultimately just end up emotionally eating for that reason. And just a cycle. It's just a cycle. And then you find the motivation to start that cycle all over again. And yeah, so all in all, I was showing up as a different version of myself, different pieces of myself for all of this work that I was doing and all the relationships that I was putting in work to sustain. And I realized I've been living in a cycle of doing exactly what my environment has conditioned me to do, but over time now, at I would say starting probably like a couple years ago, I started to realize that the fruits of my hard work were nourished by feelings of physical pain, anxiety, depression, and ultimately unwholeness. And it's like, I found myself asking, like, how can a young Black woman, very privileged, who's doing so well in the program of society, be feeling so anxious and depressed and unwhole? Like, that doesn't make sense. You're literally like doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. But I began to wonder, like, am I doing all this external work to grow and become the person that I'm supposed to be, but still subconsciously blocking my own blessings from blooming into the abundance of unconditional love and authentic light and wholeness that I'm purposed to be and purposed to share? So I'm extremely grateful for this realization, though, because it's been a catalyst into my passion for self-healing, which I'm super hella excited to start sharing and talking more about. And I didn't realize this before, but everyone in this world at some point in their lives will realize that they need to heal. Whether it's like physical wounds, those are the most, we see those on the surface. We know those are things that need to be healed. When we get cut, we disinfect and put on a Band-Aid and let our body do the self-healing process. Think about yourself as a spiritual being and a soul, and think about the ways that your soul might actually be wounded. And because we can't see it, we don't realize that's what's happening. But a lot of the ways that these wounds manifest themselves are like very deep fears, anxiety, depression, lots of mental and mood imbalances. Our chakras, we'll get into that. I'm not gonna get too deep into it, because I know a lot of y'all are hearing me like talk like this for the first time. So I'll ease into it. I'm not gonna start talking about chakras and everything that I've been learning about lately, but we'll get there. But I'll say that healing, being hurt, and healing is a part of the human experience. Like, that's just what it is. So with that being said, I am ready to come out and start sharing more of myself with y'all, like more of my voice and my thoughts and my spiritual awakening and my journey and all those things, because I've been on this for a few years now, and I think I share little pieces here and there of the healing and inner work that I've been doing. I've been in therapy, I've done solo trips, like I've just been on a very solo trip, international, just like it's been great. It's been a lot of evolution that I've been taking place. I know y'all specifically see that with me returning to the dancer and movement artist that I was born to be, and forgot that I was for a long time because of the trauma and the healing that needed to occur for me to get to that point. But I'm so thankful. I can't say that enough. My life is abundant already, and because my life is so abundant, I'm now ready my cup is full, and I'm now ready to open up and start sharing with y'all about my healing beliefs, my spiritual awakening, and my never-ending journey of self-discovery. So if you've listened to this point, honestly, like, thank you so much. Please send me a message if what I'm talking about resonates with you. I really want to start having more of these conversations with people, because I think it's just super important with the climate that we're in. Like, we are in a war, like flat out. If you know what I'm saying, then you know what I'm saying. But we're in a war, and we gotta make sure we're ready. not just physically, but holistically. So yeah, thank you for 15 minutes of your time. Comment if you feeling it. Send me a message if you want to talk to me about this stuff. Just about like awakening, finding your purpose, you know, just if you want to heal, if you know that you're hurting and that I'm not a licensed clinic or a therapist. I'm not a therapist. I haven't been to school in the traditional way to practice therapy or anything like that, but I have God-given gifts, and I'm just all about creating a space for you to see your light, reflect your light, and ultimately like trigger your realization and your awakening to learning how to heal yourself. That's what I'm all about. I'm not really I don't prescribe, I don't do any of that. I just want to hold space for people. So I think that's super important. So yeah, that's all. I'm gonna end this now because I've already talked like a lot. And like I said, if you listened and if it resonates, hit me up, let me know, leave a comment, send me a DM, all those types of things. Like reach out. If you have a community that I can join, I'm really looking for like more spiritual communities to start, you know, having more conversations like this. So yeah, thank you with so much love and light. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for me. I'm grateful for this life. I'm grateful for this collective awakening that we are experiencing right now. It is long overdue. The ancestors are like, y'all, let's go. It's time. It's time. So let's go, y'all. Thank you. Have a great day, a great weekend, wherever you are, whenever you see this. I'm always here, so hit me up. Mwah.